And that is a performance in the night which probably does leave more questions than answers again. I don't think Newcastle were good. What is wrong with them at the moment? Well, hello again from here inside what is now a pretty deserted Ewood Park, and fairly quiet too. Well, it wasn't like that just over an hour ago, was it? Especially not in that end just over my shoulder there, where there was 7,500 of you guys making a hell of a racket when Martin Dubravka saved that final penalty which has sent Newcastle into the last eight of the FA Cup. It wasn't always like that during the night. I thought at times the away ends were quiet, and rightly so, because that reflected what was happening on the pitch. You know, there were real lulls in Newcastle's performance. I say real lulls. There was one big lull in the first half, and I honestly think, you know, on reflection as a whole, they've probably got away with one tonight. We'll explore the reasons as to why the performance wasn't great, but for now I think the only place to start is at the very end, and that is with the penalty shootout. And you know, that victory, I said there, the away end was quite important. I thought, on the whole, I thought the away end was absolutely fantastic in terms of how during those moments they try to drag the team out of it by offering song, by offering support, when, to be honest with you, at times the performance on the pitch perhaps didn't quite deserve it. But nonetheless, we've just spoken already how downstairs there he praised the spirit of his team to keep at it, and in the end I think I would go along with that. You know, you looked at what they offered on Saturday and you could actually question, you know, the application at times, and just the willingness just to run about really and do some of the basics. I thought that there tonight was less about the basics of sort of desire, commitment, spirit, endeavour, all the rest of it, and was more just about a team at the moment which has got real flaws in terms of how it's set up, and in terms of, you know, one or two ability-wise who are being exposed. But like I say, we'll explore that in just a minute. But we'll start at the end and the shootout. And you've got to say, without Martin Dubravka, Newcastle don't even get there tonight. He goes into that shootout on a real high, but so too does Ainsley Pears and Blackburn's goal, because, you know, Newcastle belatedly in extra time, it was like, you know, all we were missing in extra time was like two drunks in a kebab shop throwing punches at each other and missing. All we were missing was the red cabbage on the floor. It really was that sort of game. Two teams absolutely punch drunk. And yes, while Eddie's just said to us, you know, he thought they had the better of it in extra time, I'd go along with that, but I wouldn't really take a great deal from that, because like I say, the game made absolutely no sense come that point. But you know, both goalkeepers go into it, and which one of them is going to emerge the hero? And in the end it's Dubravka. And the first save is a good save, the second save to win it from the home captain Dom Hyam. I don't think I've ever really seen a better save in a shootout. It was, you know, it was a good penalty. It was well struck in the corner. He's flung his body full length. He's somehow, I think, I need to see this back, but I think he's got his left arm up above and pushed it onto the post. And that was, I was going to say that was Martin Dubravka's best game in a long time. That was perhaps Martin Dubravka's best game for Newcastle since his debut against Manchester United. You might come back at me, and there are probably others in between. I'm probably doing the guy a disservice, but I just thought there tonight from the off really. And you know, we'll look at that, because without Dubravka, Newcastle get to half time at least 1 or 2-0 down. They've started with lots of the ball. You know, it's an immediate improvement on what we've seen down at Arsenal on Saturday, because Newcastle won a corner, something we failed to do at the Emirates. They got a corner inside 9 minutes, did absolutely nothing with it, and did absolutely nothing with the ball for the bulk of the first half really. I think only one Sean Longstaff shot on target. Again, a slight improvement on what they had in the first half on Saturday at Arsenal. But no, at the other end, there was the change. Sven Botman came out, Jamal Lascelles came in. Jamal Lascelles didn't have one of his better games, but again, you know, the midfield changes up, and you think, you know, will Joe Willock coming in offer the defence more protection? Will there be a change there in terms of the intensity that was their identity? Will that return? Well, no, it just didn't, if we're being honest. And even though there were 5 changes tonight, and I thought the 5 changes improved the team in terms of strengthened. I thought that was arguably the strongest team Newcastle could have put out tonight in terms of on form and on fitness. But again, nothing clicked. Alexander Isak was isolated. Jacob Murphy came in, and I just thought the quality was lacking there from Jacob Murphy. There's one in the first half where he had it in the inside channel, and there's 3 bodies, I think, from both sides in the box, and there was just a real sad inevitability about the fact that he chipped it straight to a Blackburn shirt. There was another passage of play where Newcastle have misplaced 3 passes, all to their own players. The first half wasn't good, and like I say, without Dubravka making a couple of really good saves, they go in at half time down. Eddie Howe would have been relieved. They come out in the second half, And they are better, but better in the context as they couldn't have been much worse. And it wasn't really until they scored that they had a little 5-minute passage of, what I call it, superiority. I'd call it a 5-minute passage of improvement. Basically, Mikel Almiron comes on, and immediately a player who I thought deserved to be dropped tonight, Murphy coming in for Almiron before the game, I thought was the right call. Almiron has been off it ever since whatever happened in January. It didn't happen in January with regards to the move to Saudi Arabia, but he come on tonight, and maybe that's what he needed. He looked invigorated, and I thought he was the one player, outfield player, who really did sort of turn the game in Newcastle's favour. Anthony Gordon had gone through on goal just moments before he eventually scored, and with that one he arguably had too much time to think about it. Pears comes out, makes a good save. Gordon's finish lacked any conviction, but what he gets for his goal a few minutes later, with far less time to think about it, he instinctively tucks it into the bottom corner, 1-0. And from that point, we're sat there, and again, I always try to take inside our world of the match report. I've sort of been constructing a report which is probably until that point edging towards a Newcastle defeat. Everything then spins on his head, and Newcastle are going to win this. They've got the 1 goal now. They are looking stronger. Can they see this home? Can they exert control against a championship team, don't forget, who are struggling, who have recently parted company with a manager, John Dahl Thomason, who I think 19th in the championship on a poor run, below Sunderland, who Newcastle wiped the floor with in the 3rd round of this competition. Yet for whatever reason, Newcastle aren't able to show that control. Was that a surprise? Well, probably not, even though, like I say, I'm committing all my eggs in one basket. Newcastle are going to go on and win this with regards typing out my match report to a tight deadline. But no, the ball goes over the top. Jamal Lascelles makes a complete mess of it, goes to put it into touch, misses it. Dubravka actually makes possibly one of his best saves of the night in brushing the ball up onto the crossbar, but then Schmodic, who I thought was tremendous, arguably the best outfield player on the pitch, he follows up to score 1-1. And then, honestly, I thought Blackburn are the two were then the more likely winners in normal time. There's a save from Martin Dubravka in first half stoppage time, over my shoulder there, that, again, you might not read it in all of tomorrow's newspapers because we've all got our heads down typing away, but I was looking at the time and wow, that's an underrated save. It's a deflection, and it looks as if it's going to creep in. He adjusts his body shape, and I think in the end he saves with his feet. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but that again, what a save, and that puts us into extra time. And again, during that additional 30, like I said, it was just punches being thrown and punches being missed. That double chance Newcastle had with Anthony Gordon, who I think makes the better connection. Ainsley Pears saves it. It comes back out to Sean Longstaff. Sean Longstaff somehow kicks it into the ground. Pears saves again. You then think, is it not going to be Newcastle's night? They then go up the other end in the second half of extra time, and Bruno Guimaraes has one from an Almiron pullback. That's blocked in the goal mouth, and you just think, goodness, this just might not be Newcastle's night after all. And just, the view we had in the press box wasn't bad. Yeah, you could see Eddie Howe down below us. Now, his animation during those intervals, when he speaks with his players, got them in a team huddle, it was a mixture of desire and desperation almost. He knew how big this outcome was for him tonight. And what I've likened it to in my Mail match report, I'll put the links in the description below, is that the FA Cup, and I think I said this in the preview video, it's a sticking plaster for a season of cuts and bruises for Newcastle. A really bruising season, but the FA Cup can be that plaster. Now, that was in real danger for the majority of tonight, a really unconvincing performance of being ripped off. Now, that would have left Eddie wounded and pretty exposed to criticism, I think, and quite where they would have went from here until the rest of the season. Who knows, but I think, it could have been in danger of being really, really bumpy. As long as they've got the FA Cup, it was so important they stayed in this competition. Like I say, it just keeps alive that feel good, that raison d'etre, if you like, in terms of the campaign. And they go into the last 8 now, and they're only 90 minutes away from Wembley, and for once, please, can Newcastle United have a favourable draw, he says, as we're reflecting on Manchester City away. But anyway, that's one for tomorrow. Now, they've got there, of course, by the penalties, and I've mentioned Martin Dubravka's contribution within that, but the guys who took them as well, John Eustace has just said to us downstairs, the Blackburn manager, the penalties are a lottery. Well, they're not a lottery, really. Elliot Anderson came on to take a penalty for Louis Mile in extra time. Elliot Anderson kicking his first ball in 4 months, but he was brought on to take a penalty because he's practiced kicking the ball his entire life and he's good at it. I haven't practiced, or I don't know if you guys ever have practiced picking lottery numbers, you know. So it's not a lottery. It comes down to skill, and it comes down to the agility of Martin Dubravka in saving the two efforts he did, and Newcastle's penalty takers. Only Harvey Barnes missed. Bruno Guimaraes, goodness me, he's already missed one doing that silly run up against Palace last year, I think it was. Why? Or the year before, I lose track. But quite wise, and again, he's got away with it. Anthony Gordon took a cool penalty. Fabian Schär, you know, as if he was just having to kick about in the back garden, the way he stroked that first one away. And Anderson as well, credit to him. There was a lot riding on that. You could tell by his celebration, that relief, like I say, after 4 months out, wow, to come on and be tasked with that. So fair play to him. So no, it wasn't a lottery. Newcastle took good penalties, and they ultimately had a goalkeeper who made the difference and deserves all the plaudits in the world, which leads us very nicely onto our merit marks. I think you know where they'll end up, but we'll do them in ascending order. I'm going to do away with the ratings just for tonight, the full out ratings, because I think it might even be Wednesday, Thursday. What day is it? It might even be Wednesday now. I think we've passed midnight, yeah. So 1 star goes to Anthony Gordon, and that is, again, if you look at my Daily Mail merit marks, I think Anthony Gordon only got a 6.5, but he got the goal. He was a nuisance. He took a good penalty. He played a couple of positions tonight. I thought he did okay. 2 stars goes to a substitute, already touched on it tonight, Miguel Almiron, for him to come on and just change the urgency of Newcastle's attack. And there was a spell when Livramento came on the second half and Almiron almost found himself out of the game. That was a real shame. He had a sort of 10-15 minute spell where he didn't really touch the ball, and I think if he had it done during that period, Newcastle might not have needed to go all the way to penalties. But Almiron gets the 2 stars, and you would hope now for him this can be a little bit of a springboard, because we've seen over the last couple of years when he is in that purple patch, when he is in, you know, feeling good about himself, and everything he touches almost turns to goals, doesn't it? We haven't had that for a while from him now. He needs to rediscover something. So it's been, on the whole, a pretty poor campaign for him, I would say. And the 3 stars, no surprises, no prizes for guessing. Martin Dubravka, just, you know, to come in after missing the weekend with illness, he was still touch and go for this one here tonight, and he was just absolutely inspirational. So to reflect on a whole, I always try to be honest, and that is a performance in the night which probably does leave more questions than answers again. I don't think Newcastle were good. What is wrong with them at the moment? Well, just when they're getting players back and you suddenly think they've got more options. And listen, the options from the bench tonight, and Eddie admitted this with us just before there, you know, without those options from the bench, they probably don't make it as far as penalties, and they don't have the, you know, they don't ultimately go through. So that is a positive in terms of those bodies return. Listen, might it just be a case of Alexander Isak needing more minutes, more time, Joe Willock more time, Elliot Anderson more time? Only then will we see the improvement come about, or are there more fundamental, deeper problems at the heart of this team? I still think the system, you know, I still think that 3-man midfield isn't working there. This was against championship opposition, and I thought they had the better players on the park in the middle for the majority in terms of that control and that intensity all over the park, in fact. And yeah, I go back to what I said at the very start. They got away with one tonight. While there is still reason to praise them in terms of, you know, keeping going, the spirit, they found a way to get through, and ultimately that is what the Cup is about. I still don't think it was good. And, you know, going into Wolves at the weekend, would you have any confidence in anything other than another disjointed performance with some good, some bad, some indifferent? Probably not. That is honestly what I'm expecting going into Wolves. So still lots more to analyse and pick out, and we'll be doing that with Eddie Howe on Friday morning, and I'll be back then with another video. In the meantime, lots of links in the description below to Daily Mail, Match Report. Keep logged on across all of our platforms, the WhatsApp channel as well, loads of good stuff in there. I brought you a little WhatsApp whisper. I love the WhatsApp whispers. I brought you one of those this afternoon, saying that Sven Botman wasn't in the squad tonight. He, by the way, is only rested and should be back for the weekend, and I'll be back for the weekend too, with lots more to come. Lots more to come during what, again, you know, how do you predict what's going to happen on Saturday? As ever with Newcastle, I'm sure there'll be a story. I'm sure there'll be plenty to go over. So make sure you come back then. Okay, take care, guys, and thank you again for watching. Bye bye.